Hello, everyone. You are listening to the C Squared podcast with Corey and Curtis. We are here with our co-host, Gaia, is joining us today, and we are going to be interviewing Liza from the band Mageia. I'm going to slaughter this name. I'm so sorry. You literally just told me how to say it, and I'm totally butchering it. I blame the fact that I'm an American.
All good.
First, I want to apologize for butchering the name, and then also say thank you for joining us today. We're really excited to have you on the show today.
Yeah, also thank you very much for having me. I'm very honored to be here today, and yes, let's have a great time.
And we're happy to be talking about your music, your experience with working with a label. So for everybody listening, there's going to be a lot of good information in here today. But for people who may not know who you are or aren't familiar with your music, do you want to just give a brief breakdown of kind of who you are, talk about the band, talk about your music a little bit, and just kind of introduce people to what you do?
Yes, with pleasure. Yes, so actually, the band name is Mageia because you were asking before. It's from the Greek language, the word for magic. Yes, that's actually what it's all about. My music is mainly about magic, about spiritual topics. Yes. So who I am a singer-songwriter. I've been making music already since my teens. I started with the acoustic guitar, and yeah, I played a lot of kind of instruments, and yeah, then later on I started I started to get more interest into singing and songwriting, and that's where I am now.
I have a question, Liza. So now you said you've been doing this since your teens. So did you have any? I know you had the one band previous to Mageia. I think I'm saying it right, Mageia.
Mageia.
Mageia. Sorry.
I think it's kind of difficult for an American.
Well, I'm Canadian.
You're Canadian.
Oh, you're Canadian. Okay. All right. But I heard a lot of different ways how they pronounced it, so it's very interesting.
Cool. So I know you had the one band before Mageia. Were you doing doing any other bands prior to that then, that were signed or anything?
You mean if there are any other members in the band, or
no? Did you have any other bands prior to Mageia other than the 777 one?
You mean if I have any additional bands, or do you mean? Yes. No, actually, Mageia is my main band at the moment. I do not have any other project going on because, you know, when you write music, it's like, you know, a very intense process, and I want to put all the energy into just one project, you know, because the more energy you put into something, yes, the better the outcome is, you know. So yeah.
Okay, just one more follow-up and then I'll let Gaia ask a question, because she looks like she's got my follow-up face going, I think. But
yeah, I'm like, I have a question.
But I just want to follow up. So it's about the label. So how did you find the label that you're currently on? What was the process with it, for finding it rather?
You mean how the process was to find a label, or
what did you get on a label?
Sorry, I didn't hear it.
What did you do to get on a label? Like, how did you find the label? How did you get signed, type of a thing?
Oh, well, how did I find the label? Yep. It's like, of course, it's you have to first search for a label, and it was you write a lot of different labels, and of course the industry is also a place, a very big place, and finding a label is of course not the easiest thing to do.
Agreed.
But yes, because there are so many bands out there that want to be signed and that want the music to be promoted with a label. But how was my process? Well, I actually wrote a lot of labels, and when you write, of course, you have to write so many labels just to maybe get one answer. Let's say you write like 100 labels or so. Maybe you get one or two answers. Most of them will be no, because if you're somebody that is new with a band, of course, they want to see if you already have some kind of credibility. If so actually it was how I got to Lion Music was I actually knew I worked together with a producer, and he's actually already there with the same label. He's in the same label. So he kind of introduced me to the label owner of Lion Music, and we showed him the music, and he was totally into that, because he's also a fan of this kind of vintage rock or the 70s rock, so he told me that he's really into the music, and that he also wants to maybe and we offered him also to play a part on 2 songs.
Nice.
So yes, so he also kind of got involved into the music, and that's how we got it going. It was like getting more and more familiar, and then he said, yes, let's do it. I want to sign you. I want to sign your upcoming album. And that's how it actually happened.
Pretty straight.
Yes, it's also some kind of luck you have to have at the beginning when you start.
I agree. Yes. Gaia, you want to go ahead with your question?
Yeah, I have a question because you mentioned that you started with the acoustic guitar, and eventually you added more instruments. So I was just wondering, what other instrument are you playing, and also how did that influence your music?
Sorry, I didn't understand the first question, because somehow there were some breaks.
Okay, I'm sorry. What I said is, you said that you started with the acoustic guitar, and then eventually you learn other instruments. I was just wondering what kind of instrument do you play, and also how did that affect your songwriting?
Oh, did we lose her? Gaia, you broke.
I broke.
You broke her with the question.
Oh my god!
Hold on, I'm gonna pause the recording just 1 sec.
Jesus.
Cool. So you.
All right, we are back, folks. Sorry for the little glitch there. And so, Liza, do you want to go ahead and answer? You got Gaia's question, so we can go ahead now.
Yes, we can go ahead. I can hear you clearly again.
Okay.
So, and I'm no more that nervous because it's not it's like I don't do this, so it's my first time that I talk like that.
But you're doing good. You're doing good.
You're doing.
Yes, and I'm not a native speaker, but I try my best. So
it's okay. I get you.
Okay, great. But I understood your question. You were asking what kind of instruments I played that I'm familiar with. Well, there are a lot of kind of instruments I played. Like I started with the flute. that was actually the very first instrument when I was a kid, but then my kind of main instrument was the acoustic guitar, and from there I went to the electric guitar. I got a Strat in my teens, and yes, and an amplifier, and then I started to get more interest into rock music, and I just fell in love with the vibes of Jimi Hendrix, Led Zeppelin,
Mhm.
So then I wanted to just play the electric guitar, and yes, what else? What else did I play? I mean, of course, I also played. You may laugh, but I also played an instrument. It's called the harmonium. It's an
Oh.
Austrian folk instrument. When I was
Mhm.
smaller, yes, and after that, I moved to Berlin, and from there I learned playing the bass and the double bass. And I had a teacher in Germany who taught me the double bass and also the electric bass. And from there I dig deeper into metal, rock music, and that's where actually my songwriting process started. There was a time when, there was this kind of when there were a lot of bands coming up, like with some kind of occult touch, like The Devil's Blood, for example, and yes, Blood Ceremony, Ghost. I liked all these bands, and from there I got inspired. Yes, and then I started songwriting.
Nice. Corey, you want to go next?
Oh no, I just want to say that it's really impressive that you have so many different instruments that you're familiar with. I mean, you must be able to pull from so many different types of music to create your own sound. And I just want to start with saying that is amazingly impressive. There aren't that many people who just can pick up anything and figure out how to play it.
Yes.
And the harmonium, that's the one that's like a little tiny piano, right?
Oh, well, it's actually a very big instrument. I hope it's an accordion, I think.
Oh.
This is a big instrument where you pull and you get a different tone, and then but that's what I played in my teens, like when folk music was not so uncool, like it was then later in my teens.
Oh, I love folk music, so I mean, anything kind of folk influence, I love it a lot. Like
that's good.
I mean, L Baby, those type of bands are top of my list.
Great.
But
great.
With your album that you released, I wanted to talk a little bit about how you promoted it and how you kind of got it in front of people, what different steps you took to kind of make it more well known.
How I promoted it. Well, I actually had different kind of of course I had my label first that helped me promote it, and that had contacts, and there were, I'm sure it was spread to a lot of kind of different magazines, but what I did was also I created a kind of a PR list, where you write down all the contacts that you already have. Like for my former band, for example, I already had some contacts. I wrote them down in a list, and later on, I just contact them all and asked if they want to promote my music, if they want an interview with me, and yes, or if they want to do reviews. So I also was active in promoting it and also creating a fan base. It's so important, because the most important thing, or the most important source that you want to reach are fans, of course, and that's how I think that's what I did mainly to create a fan base and to stay in direct contact with the people, because it's so important. They don't want somebody that is so far away from you. They want to interact with you, and I think that's the new way of how to promote music and how to create a fan base, you know.
I would agree with that. Also, one thing I think you're really good at, Liza, is responding to people when they comment or when they say anything about the music. Like anytime I've posted about you, you're like right there, right off the bat, and you seem to do that really well with other people too. How do you kind of use social media to reach out to new fans? Is there specific things that you do?
I show my interest into others.
Yeah.
It's important that they just don't see somebody, oh, that's a singer, or that's an artist. You know, there's no way you have to be better than them, because that's not how you have to be in the same level with the people that listen to your music, and to also open your heart in front of other people that can be your potential fans at the end, you know.
Now,
and they are not only fans, they are just like friends to me. I think that's important, to how to see them, you know, as friends, because they support you. They buy your CDs, they buy your merchandise, and this is also how you can grow, and it helps you. So that's a very, very important part in the whole thing.
One thing I wanted to ask about with the image was, like, you have the whole occult image, like this. It's not really scary, but I mean, you know what I mean, right? It's a dark image, but you come across as very friendly and warm, and you know what I'm like. You seem very friendly and nice. How do you kind of have the image fit with your personality, if you get what I mean?
I think I get what you mean. Of course, yes, it's a dark image that I express somehow, but it's actually that darkness that's been surrounding me for a while. It's a kind of a way how to change the darkness into light again, because if you want to evolve, you always have to dive deep into the darkness. You can't rise without seeing what's dark within yourself. So I think that makes me maybe look a bit dark, but spirituality, as a matter of fact, also means to be open to show some acceptance to whatever comes into your life, and so I think that's also a very big part that makes me also look friendly and open to other people. Maybe, I don't know.
You totally do. I've always, like, every time you've talked to me, I've always been like, this is a nice person. I really like her. I don't know if I'm supposed to feel that way, but but just before I let anybody else follow up on the question, the next thing I wanted to ask you about was, do you feel that by having the darker image, do you think that sometimes gets you fans that are negative, or do you think it doesn't affect that?
Oh, to be honest, I don't. Oops. I think the connection, is it there?
Oh,
Okay.
we can hear you. No, do I have to pause
I don't
again?
hear you.
Okay,
Yeah. Of course, you always have. You don't always have positive people around you. There are also negative people. I mean, you can't just say that everybody's the same, you know. But yes, I don't think that anybody that I've talked to on my social media platforms was kind of negative.
cool.
There rather more people that maybe just don't have anything friendly to say, of course. But I think these are the people that you know, that are not so happy within themselves, that you know, they just want to project it to you. I would call them maybe haters or something, but I think that's what we all have to deal with, and I'm totally okay with that, you know, because it doesn't affect me. It's not my problem if somebody's negative in front of me, and I have a protection shield, you know, because I stand to what I'm doing. It's I love what I'm doing, and so they just can go their way, you know. It
Totally.
doesn't affect me, you know.
Corey, do you want to follow up on that before we get into the more occult thing, or how, or what?
I did not have a follow-up, but does Gaia's been kind of quiet.
She was on mute, so that was because her dog was barking. That's why I didn't ask her. Oh, now you're not.
No, I'm not mute. It's just my dog is snoring. I had a question that didn't have anything to do really with the aesthetic, but it was more about when you release your album, because I saw that you released it last year.
Yeah.
I was just wondering, did you find it like a little bit harder to promote because of the pandemic, or did you find that it was kind of easier because you already like were posting a lot like on social media, or not?
Oh, well, I think it was easier, of course, because people were sitting at home and they didn't have much to do. You could reach people at any kind of time of the day, you know, because they were at home. So it was easier to promote, at least promote the album. There are no concerts at the moment, so that's what I couldn't promote, and I couldn't find any possibility in this way, because when you are new with a band, you can't. It's already a bit difficult to promote and to find bookers, or to start a tour or something. But when there is also a pandemic, you can't do anything in this kind of way. So I totally concentrated on promoting the album, and yes, it worked, because of people were at home and they were looking for some kind of way how to stay active, or to listen to music, you know.
So let's get on to the image a little bit more, because we only got about 10 minutes left. So
Okay.
let's talk about the imagery here. So first, how do I want to phrase this? So I assume you yourself read about occult themes and stuff as that, like you do, correct?
Yes, I do.
Cool. So how would you say that the spirituality kind of affects your creative process, if you get what I mean?
Um, it let's say like that. It's my kind of magical work. When I write a song, it's like I'm writing into my magical diary, you know.
Nice. Yep.
Yes, that's how I actually can say it, because when I write lyrics, for example, during the process, this is when everything comes out from within, and it's like when somebody paints something, you know, then you're connected to your inner self, to your true self, and that gives the lyrics or your art the spirituality or the occult, the hidden, you know, occult means the hidden.
Yep.
So it brings it to light, to life, you know, and that's actually my kind of way how to bring the occult or spirituality into my music.
Nice.
Or for example, you know, it's if something very dramatic happens into your life, for example, that's the best way when to write music, you know, because you are in a kind of state where maybe everything is lost. Like when when I started writing on my album before, that's actually what happened. I was totally in a kind of void of nothingness. But in this kind of nothingness, there's also some kind of something, you know, there's also something that you can create. So there's always a chance to create and to wake up from this kind of, I don't want to call it lethargy, but you know, it's some kind of very dark whatever that's around you, you know.
Yep. No, I agree. It's almost like you're creating magic or something with your music because you're making something, right? Is that what you mean?
Yes. Okay.
Cool. So what kind of themes do you try to bring into the music specifically, lyrically?
That's like, well, I got inspired. I got inspired of some books from, for example, I read a lot of books of Aleister Crowley. That was my actually main influence in starting to write music at the beginning.
Nice.
But the more I opened up to other magical ways, then I also, well, let's say it like that. I also opened up to other kind of magical sources. But my main influence at the beginning was Aleister Crowley. Yes.
Cool. So do you think that by bringing, like, one thing I know with Aleister Crowley, a lot of people freak out about him, but he's got a lot of positive stuff.
Yeah.
He's actually
he's hated.
Yeah, but his stuff is it's positive. The stuff I've read is it's not like the evil stuff that people say it is. I don't think it is, at least. But how do you you know what I'm talking about? How do you kind of bring that and turn it into a positive light, even though it's like, you know, people, when you're Aleister Crowley, they go, you know what I mean?
Yes, I know. I also, I'm a bit careful when I talk about this kind of magician, because I know he's cursed by a very dark image or negative image.
Yeah.
But actually, the problem here is that people misinterpret him. They they think, there are some kind of lines where he talks about, he meant something totally different.
Yep.
But when I read something out of the books, of his books, then it kind of inspires me. I start diving deeper into my subconsciousness, and because when you read the text, when you read a text from one of his books, it doesn't actually make sense to, let's say, a rational sense. It doesn't make a rational sense, but on a different plane, it makes sense. Yes, but like I said before, I opened up also to other kind of other different sources. For example, I also love alchemy, and I'm very interested into alchemy itself, or the ancient Egyptian kind of. I love the ancient Egypt also. So I'm very open actually already. So
Cool. Nice.
yes.
Okay. Gaia, did you have a follow-up before I go on to the final question?
No, I just wanted to say that it's I love the way you approach the dark side with something very positive. I think it's a very beautiful thing, and I just wanted to mention it.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I'm glad you're seeing it this way, because there's not only darkness, there's also light, and at the end, everything is just an illusion.
I love that.
Okay, so for final question for you, Liza. So what do you have going on next? Do you have more music coming out soon?
Not really that soon, because I'm actually in the process of starting with a new album.
Yep.
I'm in the demo phase. So I started working with my co-producer Milan Polla. I started writing on new songs, and it will of course take some time to create the demos, but yes, I'm on the way, let's say it like that. I cannot really say any. Yes, I will keep you updated, of course.
Cool. All right. So does anybody else have any final questions for Liza before we end off?
All good for me.
Cool. All right. Well, Liza, do you have any questions for us before we end the podcast?
Oh.
I'll turn it around on you.
Okay. Yes, I'm kind of interested. You guys are a kind of team of.
Yep.
Do you have a PR agency together? All together?
Yep. Yep.
Mhm.
Yep.
Great.
Yep. We'll be talking to you about that. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, that's awesome. You have a very positive approach also, how you represent yourself, how you work together with your artists. I like this. It's a kind of a new way how to promote music and how to also have success.
Yeah.
I think it's a kind of successful way how you build up your business. I like it.
We try to be positive that's the main thing, and positivity with people. So does anybody else have any final things they want to say before we wrap up?
I just want to do a quick shout out to Keefe for hosting this podcast like he always does. Go Cult Magazine. Woo!
Cool. Gaia, any final words?
I have my stupid question that I always say, and I forgot to say it. Yeah, Liza, what is your favorite dinosaur?
My favorite dinosaur? To be honest, I do not have any favorite dinosaur because they are not my favorite animals or reptiles.
It's okay. Yeah, I go with reptile.
It's reptile. So, but of course, I'm not sure if it's a nice reptile, but of course, the T-Rex is a very
Ooh,
T-Rex is a good choice.
interesting. Yeah, it's an interesting reptile,
for sure.
but also very scary. Also very scary.
Agreed.
And
Okay,
yours?
Ooh,
Oh, mine is the megalodon. It's like the giant shark.
Oh, okay. I've never heard about it.
so we're gonna wrap up now, guys. So my final words are party on, Corey.
Party on, Curtis, party on, Gaia, and party on, Liza.
Okay.